Oh, hello. Happy Thursday. You'll notice we have music today, which is incredible. Minor miracle. Hydrate. Thanks, Smooth, in a second. Oh no, the edge of the green screen. The illusion. There we go. How's everyone doing? Morning. Yesterday's stream ended up being popping. I think today is going to be a lot quieter. But the YouTube algorithm has been very kind to me lately. See if my luck continues. So we're still working on a new input system for the game. It's kind of based on sort of like a raycast into the 3D space. We might, because I'm starting so late today and we're probably going to have a relatively short stream, we might take a side track here. Just opening up all the windows I might need here. We might take a side track too. If we look at the to-do list, we might just knock this auto tile invalid blocks thing out. That might be the thing to do today. Otherwise, we got to do some very complicated stuff. I'm not sure I have time to dig into. We would need to... Why is this card bigger than the other? Oh, is it? Is it not? Oh. All right. Yeah, let's work on this. Auto tile invalid blocks. So this is like, the problem is right now, if you put the doors in such a way that they don't work, they either draw weirdly or they don't draw at all. Drawing weirdly is fine. Not drawing at all is kind of a problem. So I want to make something that's like, here, let's figure it out. So it would be something like, I'm thinking of like, Source Engine had like the magenta texture thing. Yeah, they had like a magenta checker box look to indicate a missing texture. I think we want to do something similar. So in Source, you'd see stuff like this. It's weird. I think we're going to do something similar as our like invalid texture deal. Missing content. It's not really accurate for what that used to mean, but it should be fine. Hey, Rhiannon Journey, how's it going? Yeah, we're taking a sidetrack here to work on a little door related problem, I think, which is, what do you draw when you've positioned the doors in such a way that the auto tiler doesn't understand? Let's make a new file here. We'll probably use the high saturation palette here. Nix, you got yourself some more space for your PC. 4 more terabyte M2s. Jeez. You have 1 M2 left. How many M2 slots does your PC have? Is it for RimWorld mods? Yeah, that would be my expectation as well. How many terabytes of RimWorld mods do you have? No, we have to save. We have to load this palette and then save this palette as the default. All right. So yeah, I think we're going to use one of these purples. One of these two. I don't know which. Maybe one of these. Oh, this music is epic. Maybe a little too epic. But I actually have access to radio stations again, so we can switch the radio here. Yeah, auto-tiling invalid blocks will be nice. You're up to 400 plus RimWorld mods, Nix. Jeez. Music is epic today because they're like, we're back now. Almost. I play like a cinematic radio station when we're doing our intro. Sometimes I forget and I leave it on, and I feel like I'm in some kind of movie. We'll go back to our like usual lo-fi thing. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do, we just draw out our block. I know I could just start from a block, but I think this is fine. Did I make this too big? Might have made this too big. There we go. We can do this really simply. Okay, so we're going to have a lighter tone on the top, so I might use this tone here. And I use a darker tone on the sides, and then now we're just going to checkerbox it somehow. Decide what we think will be like. I'm thinking something like this, something... Oh, we can't do that. Maybe something like this. Maybe just this. I don't know. Nah, we need something that's a little more alarming. I'm tempted to do a yellow, honestly. Like a yellow caution. Nah, I don't like that. It's too big a jump. I guess we just do something like this. We try to do it in a way that's consistent. I'm sure this is going to fail. I'm sure this will be weird. Because yeah, it basically has to flip on the other side. Yeah, okay. Yeah, something like this. Something that looks like obviously horrible and wrong. It's the kind of thing we're going for. It helped. I think it's actually kind of good if it's not in perspective. I think that helps it look like really jarring. And this will just be our broken door sprite. Broken in the sense of it's not a valid arrangement of doors. You like the epic music? It's a nice missing texture. Maybe the boxes be 2x2 instead of 1x1. Not sure. You mean you want you want it to be like 2 tiles big? It describes something that's invalid. So it's not like the texture is missing. It's like the auto tiler can't render the block that's here because it violates the rules. Which right now only applies to the doors, but it could apply to any kind of multi-block arrangement. Because like only certain combinations of the door are valid, right? What about instead of black for the checkerboard, another shade of purple? We can try that. We can try that. I would use probably the darkest shade of purple. Yeah, that's nice. Swap that real quick. Okay, yeah, that's nicer. Just using the dark purple to distinguish it from the outlines. Let's save this somewhere. It's not really a door. Just put it in here. Call this invalid. Call it hall. Invalid block. Right now it's only going to apply to doors. But yeah, I could see it applying. Like if you've got an engine that's multiple blocks or something and you've arranged it in an invalid way. I'll have to think more about how we build out those things, that like blocks that take up more than one tile. Because right now it's kind of amorphous. Like with a door, you just place a door down, a door block down, and then the auto tiler figures out, like based on how many door blocks there are in a row or whatever, what kind of door it is. Oh, I can't just copy that. I can't copy the top part. I can copy the rest of it though. It's a little awkward. This is really stupid, but I'm going to actually do it this way. Although, wait, was that? Hold on. Oh, this one is kind of weird. I think I did this. I think I want to swap these. Because these are actually misaligned now. Oh, there goes the music. How's everyone doing? Happy Thursday. Nix, in the share the stuff channel over on Discord, is it cool if you share your LLM? It has ponies talking in it. Darker shade looks great. Yeah, I like it. I think it's fine to share the work that you've done. Just keep in mind the content sharing guidelines on the rules page. We're not a super AI accommodating channel. We're generally pessimists. Why did this just stop? No, we already listened to this one. Thank you. Thank you, radio. Yeah, no, it's surprisingly not the ponies. That's the problem to me. All right, so I'm gonna flip these colors. So we have to find like a temporary color to provide them. Oh, that looks weird. Yeah. I want everything to be lined up. It's kind of a weird illusion, but it's good. Although I should copy this over first, because this is the right order on this side, and then on this side I want to change it. We're getting there. You know, this is probably going to be done so quickly. I have to figure something else out to do. There we go. All right. Yeah, this is our invalid block. I'm happy with it. You'll never be confused about what this means. All right, let's export copy of it, and let's start integrating this into the engine here. Hey, Diginanigans, you're a bit busy with work right now, but you think you have a better way to do the real-time pixel art shading of the characters in your game using compositor effects and custom shaders. I'm gonna try playing around with it tonight if you have time. That's cool. People are talking about the compositor a lot with Godot. I'm not super familiar with it. I think Acerola just had their talk at GodotCon posted by the Godot engine. I feel like that talks about the compositor. Let me see. Oh, accidentally playing videos. Let me take a look at this here.
Maximum warp.
Maximum warp. Where's that Acerola talk? Here we go. Yeah, compositor effects in U. Unlocking Godot's potential for something. I can't, it's not showing me the rest of the line. Unlocking Godot's potential for advanced graphics techniques. Yeah, check this out. Gotta wait through these ads here. But yeah, I'm gonna provide the link in a sec here. So yeah, this talk, not brought to you by Pizza Hut. Yeah. Check this out. Diginanigans, when you have time. Drop the link in the chat here. Drop it in the other one just in case anyone's curious. How's it going, No Joel? Yeah, I didn't get to see this. I think I slept in and was like, I'm going to get coffee, and I missed it. Yeah, that might be relevant for what you're trying to do, Nanigans. Rhiannon Journey, this is a bigger game question, but how do you see power being routed on ships? Is it something that you'll have to draw the routes manually through the walls, or will it route automatically? It's a great question. I think it's going to use the walls by default. So I think power by default will be routed through walls. Except where there's a door, I guess. So it might depend on ship design. We were actually just talking about that in the Discord, in a thread. We were talking about Cosmoteer, which uses like a walker model, which is the characters physically carry like little batteries from the reactor to the systems that consume them. And I think for us instead, yeah, I'm interested in the pathfinding of the power from system to system. So I think it'd be really interesting if like a conduit gets knocked out, so the power tries to reroute, like a wall blows up or takes damage or something, and the system tries to reroute power and like blows another conduit because it's trying to reroute too much power. So I think there will be opportunities to have crew members going around and like messing with junctions. So anytime there's a junction, you'll have like an actual wall junction that's like a power junction. And I think it would be interesting to have crew members go on and like close junctions and open junctions and like Maybe they have to crawl through like Jeffries tubes on some of the bigger ship designs. Maybe you move the power conduits into a Jeffries tube or something. I think that'd be cool. But yeah, I'm very interested in that. I think there's going to be a lot to do with that pathfinding of the power. Because it's not just about allocating the right amount of power for a system. It's how do you deliver that power to the system. I think that to me is more interesting than like incrementing or decrementing the number of like power shits you've got on like your system tray or whatever. I'm interested in doing that. Jeffries tube. Nix, it's like a Star Trek term. It refers to like a crawl space where you would like route things like power conduits or like plasma conduits or whatever stuff they talk about in Star Trek. But they're these little tubes that you have to like physically crawl through. They're not like full out hallways. I think that would be interesting to make use of those. Maybe only on some of the bigger ship designs. I'm not sure. We have to decide about that. Yeah, it's like a maintenance shaft. They call it a Jeffries tube for obscure reasons that have to do with like I think it's like an old production designer from Star Trek from like the original series or something. It's like named in honor of someone who made the show. And then they just called it that in universe because why not? All right, so we have to add the invalid block to the T-res. We'll just add it on at the end. We probably shouldn't, but we have to reorganize this whole thing anyway. I'm like really unhappy with the way that I'm organizing my sprite atlases. I'm kind of tempted to split the underlying like solid color from like the outlines and use the outlines, have the outlines be like a separate layer or something. Not sure. I have to think about that more. I have to decide where I want to optimize. Do I want to optimize in the drawing, or do I want to optimize in like the packing, the texture packing? I don't know. If we can automate the tile atlas creation, then we don't have to worry about having these giant atlases because we will have them and we just won't care because they just won't be a lot of effort. But until we do that, it's kind of awkward. All right, this is just going to be one big old texture. Let's call this the invalid block texture. This texture region is 32 by 32. Diginanigans, you've seen that talk? Oh, okay, you've already watched the Acerola talk. You saw somebody else doing the same environment, or the same thing, but doing the entire environment that way. You didn't realize you could apply it to specific cameras. Oh, cool. Only thing you're not sure if you're going to have issues with depth and rendering order. Yeah, the people I know will send like 3 or 4 depth buffers. Depending on what they're trying to do, you might need some extra depth buffers. I'm not sure. I don't know if they're using compositor effects. They're doing something similar to what you would use compositor effects for. I don't think they're actually using compositor effects to do it. So I think it's a good question. I'm way out of my element on that stuff. I'm not a big graphics guy. I have made my own render pipeline in Unity, but that was a long time ago. And who hasn't made their own scriptable render pipeline in Unity? Like, I mean, whatever. It also didn't work that well. All right, so this should be minus, like, I don't know, 24 maybe? No, it's too much. Oh, positive 12. There we go. All right, one tile. Super simple. Luckily, we don't have to worry about the individual faces because right now it would only apply to a door, and the doors are whole blocks. Like, we aren't worried about rendering the individual faces of a door because that doesn't make any sense. Because the doors are actually, these are just proxies, and we're going to actually need to have a step where we replace the door proxy tile with like a node, which is going to be an interesting thing to do. That's actually a good point that I need to think about. The fact that these layers, these tile map layers, are only for editor time, for the editor mode. We're gonna have to change that when we actually add in a play mode to the game. Rhiannon Journey, you may have said, but the tubes also get used as a sneak around the ship passage some ways sometimes. Yeah, I think that's a cool alternative way. Like, what if a door breaks? Or what if the ship's being boarded and, like, you can't get through a hallway because there's, like, too many enemy combatants or something like that. I also think the Jeffrey's tubes would be really cool for exactly what you're saying, for, like, sneaking around the ship. So you're like, oh, I got to get out of this room, but the door is sealed. How do I do it? It's like, well, maybe I crawl through this vent. I crawl through this vent in the wall. Go out that way. I think that'd be pretty cool. I'm interested to try some of that stuff once we're more serious about ship design, doing larger scale ship design stuff. Shenanigans. Yeah, you're also outside of your area expertise here. You think you've got a good jumping off point. You'll see where things go from there. Yeah, that's cool. I can't wait to see people do some more stuff with the compositor effects. Maybe I'll get there someday. All right, so what we need to do here, we need to go into, so we're already, when we're driving the door layer data, we're already determining whether a door is invalid or not. That's not really impacting our draw, the way we're drawing it. So we need to go down to that section and draw it differently. Oh, here's a question. Oh, no, we're just going to draw this in the door layer. Let's not mess around. There's no, I was like, do I want a separate layer? No. Yeah, here we go. We've got swapping an invalid block tile in this case. So this is what we're going to do. So if door tile is invalid, what we can do is we can return a new tile. What's the source ID of our invalid tile? 15, okay. I need to pass in the key. I need to specify some additional variables here. I wonder if I should allow construction of a tile without specifying these. Source ID equals 15. Atlas coords. We can just leave that at 0. All tile we can leave at 0. We just need to specify the source ID. We don't need the width. This might work. This might just work. Let's see. Let's see if we got this in one. Oh, they added the multiplayer, the keeper to keepers video. The adding multiplayer to Dome Keeper. This was a great talk. For someone who doesn't really do multiplayer stuff in Godot, this was great to watch. We were talking about it yesterday. That's why I'm bringing it up. They have a few other things here too. They're posting new videos again. They stopped for like a week. But yeah, if you haven't seen some of these, go check it out. GodotCon was great. They just posted Mark Wilson's enjoyable game architecture with C#, which, you know, is right up our alley because we're using C#. I think that's a talk more about templates, like a template they made, like a sort of game template code base. I'm interested in this talk. I didn't see this, the 3D tiles. I think that has more to do with geo-positioning stuff or I don't remember. But yeah, I definitely didn't get to see everything. Gotta look at that more closely. But yeah, definitely check it out. Go to the Godot engine page. Check it out. Yeah. Shenanigans, the vibe of the music gives off that I'm doing corny hacking scripts to break into a vault or something. Oh yeah, this is like we got like our Mission Impossible music or something. All right, so what if I just try to, yeah, look at this. Oh man, this looks horrible. Probably reads really weirdly because of the checkerboard pattern on stream, but this is great. So like, if I fill this in, we make our little space here. So invalid, 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 valid, valid. The only thing is the overlay doesn't seem to be rendering correctly. It's kind of weird. But yeah, watch. So I'll place a door, and then I'll auto tile a second door, and then I'll auto tile a third door, and then what happens when I switch to 4 doors? Oh, so that still doesn't. So here's a problem. You can still like abuse the system. I would like this to switch to all of these being valid, but I would need to change the logic. Because if you just keep adding doors here, it just keeps adding teeth, which are the middle section of the triple door, which is funny. But this is really not the behavior I want. So, okay, so we got to figure out why the overlay is not rendering over this door. We got to figure out how to get these side doors to register as being invalid. Wonder how we do that. I mean, this is kind of funny, but this is like not how I want it to be set up going forward. All right, so how does a door figure out that it's invalid? Checkerboard pattern, it just makes the purple darker overall. Yeah, that's fine, I think. LS Dev, hey, what's up? Where would you run into a greater than 3 long door? Hangers? Yeah, I'm not going to support it because it's hard. So right now, the biggest door we support is 3x1, the so-called triple door. There are rumors of a quad door. Don't believe the rumors. There is no quad door. But yeah, that's 3x1, so it's like 1 vertical and 3 horizontal. I think we'll add support for like a 3x2 or maybe even a 3x3, where you get these tall doors, and that would be for like hangers. Yeah, door like big cargo hangers and stuff, like, or cargo doors and stuff. I want to do flat doors. I want to do hatches. We need to make some hatches eventually, for a number of reasons, but I want to make those. Nix, you hate new motherboard connectors. You have 5 different inputs, outputs, and you have to use the only one that is pink, usually meaning microphone, to hook up your hi-fi. Oh yeah. I don't know why there are so many plugs, you know? Yeah, so we have our door, our triple door. This is the biggest door that we support. But yeah, I could imagine doing a taller version of this. I'm not sure how I would manage it, but I think we could figure out a way. Nix, this is our half-year reminder to clean our PC. Wiping off and blowing air into it isn't enough. Clean it properly, but blowing air into it must be enough. Yeah, I dust my computer a lot. I don't do much more than that though. I haven't had a computer die on me yet, but it's very possible. All right, so what we need to do is we need to go into the door logic here. So this is where we figure out what kind of door we're talking about. What we need right now, so all we do is we look one tile to the left and one tile to the right. And I guess we could support quad doors. If I make this change, we could maybe support quad doors. I don't want to support quad doors though, because there's some really annoying z-indexing issues we run into. As soon as you talk about a thing that exists across more than one tile, you have these really annoying indexing problems to determine what should be drawn in front of what. So we got to think about that. Your self-documenting system you shared, LSDev, was really cool. I really don't write docs. Let me show. Here's the one case that I've actually got myself to write docs, but I've gotten lazy about it. I'm like, I made my own vector classes, or structs, not classes, like integral vectors, because Godot has one, and I wanted one. I kind of had my own thing, and I tried to do documentation. So would your system be able to handle something like this, like documentation? This kind of dot comments, I guess, the triple slash comments. I actually need to go back and fix some of this. I added some functionality here, and I don't think I bothered to go back in and document it. Yeah, I'm really bad at this. I'll maybe do this if I manage to sit down and write something like this all in one go. Yeah, like I have some functions here, like is marginal. Like what does this even mean? Does anyone even use this? No, nobody even uses this. I thought I was using this somewhere. I guess not. You're 1000% not a fan of the XML method of documentation. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I don't like documentation at all. I find it a trap. Eventually, I'm going to need to do something. The thing that I'm thinking about for documentation is not so much documentation of the code. I'm thinking of patch notes. Or if not patch notes, I want like, I want to more clearly be able to describe the changes I made when I'm doing a git commit so that I can make patch notes eventually. That's kind of more what I'm thinking about in terms of documentation. I'm interested in documenting the changes I'm making at a certain point. Though I don't really care about that until we have a live build and we've got like a production branch. Onizumi, welcome into the chat. So true. Yeah, hopefully you're agreeing with my just our absolute distaste with documentation. Maybe you're talking about the XML part. It'd work, but it would clip off 2 slashes and would put the summary tags in plain text. Oh, that's fine. Diginanigans, you used to do IT for a company that makes large dump trucks and heavy machinery. About a third of the location you tended to was offices. The other 2/3 were the shops. It did not take much for those PCs to get absolutely full of caked on grime. Ooh, yeah. Yeah. That's rough. The commit message is patch notes parts. Oh, yeah. You need to do that as well. Yeah, that's the thing that I worry about, because in Git, I'm really bad about Git. I do like one commit per stream. I don't do my commits based on features, which I need to start doing eventually. Yeah, that stuff I'm thinking about, but I don't want to do it yet. Anyway, how's it going? Welcome in. What kind of stuff are you working on? LSDev, you would caution against using only patch notes, because when you get far into the future, you have to do some digging to find specific details on a thing. But yes, descriptive commit messages are definitely a good idea. Yeah, I'm more concerned about describing what I'm changing build to build than I am having every function documented, you know? Because if you're writing the code well, most functions are self-describing and self-descriptive. And if there's like an implementation detail or some like really crazy thing you have to keep in mind, then yeah, comment that. Be like, oh, this is only valid in the case of this or whatever, or like, sure. But yeah. Comments are lies. Or at best they're lies, at worst they're propaganda. All right, so in this derived door layer data, the way we're deciding if a door is valid or not is we're checking its neighbors. So what we do is here we say if our positive y block or our positive or our negative y block is a bulk, so if either of these have a bulk, then this door is invalid somehow. I actually don't know how we get to that logic, but I trust it. Oni, usually commits will have a bunch of back and forth, and patch notes are only the final results. It's not really viable. Yeah, I'm a solo dev, so it might be viable for me. But yeah, generally speaking, you're right. You have a game on Steam right now where players decide what happens every update, basically. Oh, cool. What game? And when you say the players decide what happens every update, is that in like a choose your own adventure kind of way, or are you talking about like the features you're kind of developing? Is it a game yet? It started with just a button. Really? Oh, I don't want to just open my Steam. That's what's gonna happen. Is it a game yet? Steam. That's my Steam username. Be nice to me. Is this a game yet? Is this it? A blank slate for players to cooperatively design, starting with just a button and a leaderboard. Compete with your high score or win the heart of the crowd with your idea to make it define the next update's gameplay. Watch your designs take shape almost daily as they are implemented live on stream. What? What is this?
Oh yes, the sleeping pills.
This is cool. What are we watching when we're watching this number go up? Oh, flashbang. This is very meta. This is so meta, I'm getting kind of dizzy. This is cool. Oh, you just released this. Thank you for the follow, by the way. People requested dark mode. Yeah, is that going to be on the next update? You're on the 3rd update cycle? Okay, cool. So is the leaderboard like based on how many? Oh, so are these, so what you do is you submit recommendations for like what to do next, and like you get rated on that based on the likes? Oh, interesting. Okay, and just started with a button. This is fascinating. This is a very fascinating approach. There's a fish. What is going on? This is crazy. Fascinating. This is very cool. This is very cool. It's like almost the performance art version of game development. Huh. This is awesome. Thanks for sharing this. This is a really cool idea. This is very silly. I like this. Super cool. Top 3 high scores are implemented and top 2 most liked, so 5 features per update. Wow. Yeah, that's super cool. That's super cool. Is this a game yet? What an idea. All right. Well, speaking of not needing comments, I'm already like looking at modifying this code and I don't understand what this part means. Okay, so if both of your neighbors... Oh wait, what's our alignment? This is an X-aligned door, right? So this is a Y-axis door, which means it faces the Y along the Y-axis. And so what we do is we check our X and Y neighbors. So we go through a series of checks here. We say if both of the adjacent blocks, if the blocks on either side are bulks, then this is a single door. Easy. If only one of them is a bulk. Oh, if one is a bulk and one is a door, then we're a double door. Oh, here's the next X part. So this needs to be like maybe a loop or something. We might need to do a loop where it checks iteratively along and then tries to figure out if you're a door and you're part of like a line of doors that are invalid. Maybe that's what we need to do. Yeah, super awesome. All right. So yeah, so what we're doing right now is we are making it so that the system can tell when a door would be validly placed or invalidly placed, because we just added an invalid tile. So this is our horrible invalid, very obvious invalid tile. I honestly might brighten this up a little bit. Because, yeah, it does look very dark. And so we can place a door, and we can place a second door, and we can place a third door. But after the third door, it's not valid because we don't have a bigger door than a 3-part door. So if you do this, all of them should swap to this invalid block. Man, do I want to auto tile the invalid blocks? No, I don't. The answer is no, I do not. What I want is for them to just all switch to that invalid tile instead of continue to be rendered like this. I don't like how this looks. Oh, look at this. Look how weird this is. Yeah, we got to do this because this middle thing thinks it's part of a valid door because it's like, what do you mean? I've got a door on my left and a door on my right. What do you mean I'm not valid? Oh, we also don't check the block behind the door either. That's a problem. Yeah. So, okay, that can tell it's not a valid door if it's surrounded. Getting dizzy looking at that weird magenta. All right, yeah, I want to brighten this up a little bit. I like that better. Oh, I keep forgetting I need to actually open the engine if I want it to re-import. Random journey, you didn't even think you would be able to place the door if it's invalid. Yeah, I guess I could restrict it that way. I get why you would think that, because what we did before is we just wouldn't render the door. And so the problem is the door would be there and it would be invisible because the auto tiler would be like, I can't, what do you want me to do with this? Oh, I'm bothering to place this. I just want to look at this. Okay, yeah, I like this better. This brighter version. It's more clearly magenta. I wonder why the overlay doesn't render over it. Kind of weird. Maybe I don't want this to be the default, though. Maybe when you're just mousing around with a door, maybe it should just show you the door. Just so you can, like... Otherwise, it's a little confusing, but I don't know. Whatever. This is for me right now, this tool, so we don't have to go crazy with it. But yeah, we need to make it so that if you actually place an invalid combination of doors, it needs to swap all of them to be invalid instead of just do something like this. Okay. So yeah, so I think instead of only checking the adjacent one, we need to do like a loop. We basically need to identify the axis of the door, like primary axis of the door, and then we just need to start checking. So that's how we should do this. My code looks kind of scary. My code is scary. This is also not good code. Gotta look, enjoy the stream. Thanks, Ryan Journey. Yeah, we just broke out the behavior into this function here, and I just wrote what works. We do a lot of nasty bitwise comparisons here between these form flags. The form flags basically tell you like what kind of things occupy that 3D block space. Yeah, no, this is not a model code base by any stretch of the imagination. But game design rarely is. Like, I'm interested how you manage to because you kind of don't know what the suggestion is going to be for your game of what to code next. So I imagine you've hit some spots where you're like, oh man, to implement this feature, I'm gonna have to redo this whole thing because I had never thought about that needing to do this or support this. So I imagine that's a huge problem for you, having to stay agile with your code base where you're like, I genuinely don't know what we're gonna be working on next. If it works, it works. Yeah, that's one of my favorite things about coding for games is, I mean, yeah, people are looking at the code now, but the player doesn't care about the code. That helped me get over myself in terms of, you know, coding well. I'm like, yeah, you got to code well to the point where the stuff works, but you don't got to code. Coding is aesthetic coding is like something you do for yourself, right? So you can like sleep at night. Diginanigans, you're feeling like the issue would be a good one for tackling with shaders. If the tile is invalid, saturate the existing tile textures with your hue and add the checkerboard texture. Would give you the flexibility in playing around with the overlay effect without needing to keep recreating a bajillion textures. Yeah, part of our separation of concerns is I don't want to send the block data or even the tile data as far as like the descriptive tile data, like what the tiles are and like what goes there. I don't want to send any of that stuff back to Godot for use in a shader. I want to set all the tile stuff here and then just send the tile map data back like in its final form. But yeah, we could do something like that. That would be a more general purpose. We'll see if it becomes a problem. It'll really depend on how we end up implementing larger objects, like objects that take up more than one tile. Because right now the only case of that we have is doors, but eventually we will have more cases of that, and it'll be interesting to see. All right, so yeah, I think we're going to replace this kind of series of checks with something a little more robust. Hey, Val Kigamon. The only problem is if you have to maintain it in the long term. Yeah. Oni, you're preserving all previous versions, so you kind of have a system. You have a system to abstract away the new stuff. Okay. Yeah, hello. Hey, Val. How's it going? Oni, so every cycle is playable in the arcade. It's definitely a challenge when things change fundamentally. Like the next update changes from mouse clicking to WASD controls, which turned out quite well. Nice. Yeah, I can only imagine how crazy that would be. Just designing by the whims of the players like that. All right, so here's the thing. So we go through these series of steps. This would be a good argument for some degree of commenting because whenever you have a lot of these bitwise things, I also don't need to do this to write this way. So the way we've written it here, we're like positive X block and negative X block form and forms.bulk is equal to forms.bulk. That's like, I could also write that as if positive X block I wonder if I kind of need a way, I kind of want a way to combine blocks so that I can reason about them that way. Because I could also say something like positive X block dot has block dot forms dot bulk and positive and negative X block dot has. So this is the same, kind of an identical way of writing it. This is maybe a little more efficient because it's not just, but it's harder to understand. So maybe we'll rewrite this to make use of our block utility functions, which makes it easier to reason about the composition of a block. Some stuff is harder though because Because if we wanted to do this, if like the exclusive OR is a little more awkward, it's a little easier to do the exclusive OR check this way. Oni, I'm sure when you get to episode 227, your code base will look like that as well. Hey, look, this is not our best code. And our best code is not good either. None of this code is particularly good. I also have a very intense, I don't know what to call it, theme. But yeah, I wouldn't try reading this. Arneo, you comment constantly not so others can read it, but so you can remember what the hell you were thinking when you wrote the code. Yeah. That's what I should write. All of my comments should be an apologia. They should be like all an apology. It's like, I'm sorry. I wrote the code this way because I was going through some things right at the time. So Oni, we're generally working on an isometric 3D version of FTL faster than light. Our main thing we've been working on is a big editor tool that lets us build out these 3D ships, these 3D ship constructs. So we're working on a tool to do that. I don't think that's true, Nix. So you can do things like, so this has an editor, it has an auto tiler, it has a cutaway system, it has all this stuff in it. So we can define this big 3D space, we can fill it up so that it's one big block. We can then start to make rooms in it. We can carve it out. We can further compartmentalize it. It also has a flood fill thing that can tell where rooms are. So it's changing the look of it because it knows where the interior rooms are. The cutaway system knows about the rooms too, so it'll render things differently, or it'll cut away to different parts, because we have a very clear 3D problem, which is you've got this big 3D thing. Well, how do you like view the insides of it? So we address stuff like that with this kind of a system. So we're working on some input stuff overall, but right now all we're working on is changing the way doors get handled, because right now doors are a little silly, where you can make single, double, and triple doors, but if you assemble them in a way that's invalid, like I'm just like, I keep tacking doors on. The system needs to switch to like something invalid. Something that's like obviously wrong so you can see it. So we've added this invalid block today and we need to substitute it in these malformed cases. You know what I might do? I might honestly take the outlines out of this block, because I don't totally love it. Like, would it look better if it just didn't have outlines? Oh, so it's like a custom tile map. Yeah, it is. It's using tile map layers, but it uses a ton of tile map layers. So like, wouldn't it be easier to not allow placement? It would, probably. Like, maybe that's the approach we take. It's not that much easier, because then we just need to provide players feedback in another way, which I'm not terribly prepared to do. So each 3D little space is a block. This is a block. Just an idea of how our auto tiling system works. So this is a block. A block consists of an upper section, which is like a wall or a door, or even, it's usually just empty space if it's a walkable tile. And it also has a lower part, which is like the floor. And then to draw this, we have half a dozen tile map layers, and they're responsible for just the individual faces. So we've got like the X faces, the Y faces, the Z faces. And so we have a big auto tiler that understands the blocks and then figures out how to draw the tiles in a way where the outlining is correct. considering the cutaways and all the other stuff happening. So yeah, it's a pretty crazy auto tiler. Yeah, would this be cooler if it was like... It just didn't have outlines, if it was just this big thing. Who cares? I'd be going down the rabbit hole of like, now I want to auto tile the invalid tiles. And let's not do that. Val, when you place, you iterate through close positions, and if there's a door, keep that way until range 3. And if they're all doors, some kind of red flash appear. You don't know how the data structure looks though. Yeah, it's just, I could just refuse. The problem is, here's the problem. Well, maybe not here's the problem, but like, I want to leave it open. So like, you can do this in a number of ways. So like, here's like a, so I've made a couple floors, right? And like, let's say I put a door here. This door is not valid, but I can just make it valid by putting something on either side of it. And that's actually a problem. We don't have a half bulk version of the door. That's actually a good point. We need to make a half bulk version of the door tile because it's disappearing. Okay. That's a good point. I forgot about that. Wave function collapse type thing. If I was smart, yeah, we could do that. Oh, so you want players to be able to fix invalid placements. Yeah, here's the thing. This is like a tool. It works at runtime, but I'm just being crazy and I'm making my game editor tools work at runtime in the game. I'm like making it so that the game can make the game in the game. Kind of maybe in the vein of what you're doing, Oni. Just kind of a weird thing. But I don't know how much that's going to matter to a player in the game. Like, it'll matter to me, and it'll matter to modders, because modders will need to be able to make stuff. I look smart enough if I've already gotten here? No. The fact that I've gotten here just means that I persisted. That's all it means. All right, I really hope these line up. I'm gonna grab a door proxy because I'm not sure what the height of the proxy is supposed to be. It's supposed to be 20 pixels tall compared to the 32. Okay. So how high is 20 pixels tall here? Okay, here. Did I do it? Oh, well, I messed it up. Is this 20 pixels tall? It's 18. Is this 20 pixels tall? Yep, okay. So we need a shorter version of this for when the cutaway system kicks in. Because the cutaway system will otherwise not be able to draw this. Or the auto tiler won't be able to draw this if there isn't a half block version of it. So we gotta make that. We gotta integrate that in the engine. You'll be back? No worries. Oni, you already forgot it's an editor tool? Yeah. Nick's wave function collapse. So damn, are we doing quantum mechanics now? That's how I feel whenever anyone mentions wave function collapse. There's incredible uses of it. Like Townscaper is the best one for sure that I know of. And I would love to be able to do something like that. I don't know. Should this be below it and not adjacent to it? Yeah, it should. Oops. I blew it. Arneo, smartness is not binary. It's not even a spectrum. You'd say it's at least 4 dimensions, but you're not smart enough to know what that would mean. Yeah, that's funny. I tell people the only skill that you need to make a game on your own is just the ability to figure stuff out. You don't even have to be able to figure it out well. You just have to be not dissuaded by not knowing something. And you have to be able to keep working when, you know, there's no obvious solution to something. You just need to persist. Persistence is like the only characteristic you need, not like smartness. And you certainly don't need good code. I mean, look at Undertale is famously just like 1,000 sequential if-else statements or something like that. That's probably not accurate, but that's the kind of vibe that people describe from the Undertale codebase. And I mean, look at Deltarune. How the Deltarune codebase is probably better, but actually it's not having any impact. Okay, so this tile is gotta get wiped out because it doesn't exist anymore. Add this one here. All right, and now so down here, when we create the door cell, we need to say source ID is 15, and then we need to say Atlas coords equals Atlas coords needs to be cutaway dot has cutaway dot extents dot half bulk question mark. Needs to be vector3i dot. All right, we're gonna expand this because this is silly. Vector3i dot y, or it's gonna be vector3i dot 0. Let's put our parentheses in the right spot, huh? Oh, vector2i. Next, you'd say the real stuff is patience. Without it, you'd be bad at doing stuff, which you are, so you have no patience. Yeah, persistence and patience are similar things. Patience to me is more passive, because you can patiently wait for something and do nothing. But persistence is like you're sticking at it, you know? But it's all semantics. So now when I place one of these invalid blocks... Oh, that's not a good example. So now... Oh, can I not? Oh, I need to erase like this. The only thing is you don't know what kind of... Maybe Diginanigans is kind of on the right path in that maybe what I want is I actually want to like kind of draw the door, but then texture it in a way where it's clear the door is not valid anymore. So otherwise you don't know what kind of block this is. But maybe it doesn't matter. I'm going to say it doesn't matter. We could just change the way that the palette works. Because right now the eraser is like very particular about how it works. But it could be more general. So now if I place one of these invalid blocks and yeah, okay, now it doesn't disappear if the cutaway would be tempted to cut it down. That's good. I don't like this though, because still, if you make an invalid shape like this, it tries to draw the correct door in front here, and it actually continues to do so until you fully enclose. So yeah, so could I just prevent you from placing these in this context? Yeah, I could. Maybe we want to do both ways. Maybe you shouldn't be able to just place doors like this, but also I do still want it to, like, if this sort of thing happens, I do want all the doors to be replaced with an invalid block. Maybe invalid blocks are its own layer. Is that crazy? Then we could auto tile it. I don't know if I want to add a whole layer just for invalid. But I don't like this. I don't like the way this works. I might actually do that. Make like an invalid tile layer. Because then we can auto tile the invalid part. And then we can actually use it for like missing textures as well. So let's say you like have a save game that had mods and you used like a custom texture pack or something. And then you reinstall the game without the mods and then you load the game. And so you have this thing that's trying to render with these textures that don't exist. What do? Do we just fall back? Or do we actually try to render something? So maybe what we do is we render invalid. So maybe we do both things. Maybe you can't place doors in invalid locations. And we have like an invalid auto tiler thing. Because like maybe we let the doors be placed here, even if it would create an invalid door. So like maybe you can keep playing doors like this. But maybe you're not allowed to place doors just in the middle, just out in the open. Maybe it has to be like sandwiched between two walls. And it would need to be exactly two walls. So if we did it that way, if we actually controlled what the player could or couldn't do. Right now, the tool system does not scrutinize things like that. So there's like a system order reason not to do this. Because what we would essentially need to do is you can also hold down and drag. You can actually do a click drag placement. And I think that would work with a door. Let me make sure that's true. So when you're doing walls, you can click drag. And you can actually drag like in 3D. I want to change that so you can only drag out single walls. So if you drag out, it's locked to whatever the dominant axis is. So whatever the longer axis is. Kind of want to switch to that. But you can do something like this. So you could just click, drag. I kind of want to allow that, but that's really hard. Like, how would you make that determination? Look at this. That's silly. Yeah, I think that might be a little too hard. We can just make it so that, like, you can't publish a ship design if it has invalid tiles. Which, this might not be the only invalid thing. Think about something else that would be invalid. So what if I've got my main ship body here? And what if I try to place a set of blocks here? Right? Put a roof on them. So now I've got a ship here that's fully separate. What should happen is all of these blocks should flash to invalid, because like it's not attached to this at all. So like you can't. So we're heading in the direction of making an invalid tile layer. Shenanigans. You like an approach. I'm not sure which approach that was because I'm very slow. You feel like that is really common and that you simply can't put something where it can't exist. Okay, so you're on the I should be restricting placement actions. Yeah, that's hard. It's not hard, but it's like I'd prefer, rather than do the check to see if something is valid placement early on, I'd rather do that at the end, right? I'd rather do that way at the end than have to be always checking that. It would make our placement function a lot more, our placement process a lot more complicated. So right now it's super easy. But you know, when we try to place blocks, we do pass in the block buffer. So we could scrutinize the block buffer, but then we have this thing where, let's go grab the place blocks. Let's look at our place blocks in function. Right now it's super dumb, right? It just, there's a bounds. All right, I'm going to catch up on chat. Sorry. Shenanigans. However, doing that also covers the case where if you delete a block and it leaves others in an invalid state, i.e. you have a valid door, then erase the walls on each side. Yeah, that's the part that this can't cover, right? So what would you do then? Would you just say, oh, if you try to erase a wall and it creates a valid state, an invalid state, what do? Do you prevent them from erasing that wall? Yeah, I'm just hesitant to put so many demands on what is currently an incredibly simple process, because I'd rather analyze the whole block composition at the end and then decide, okay, this is invalid and you need to fix this, or this is valid and we can publish. I see merits to both approaches. Occam's laziness is pushing me in a certain direction though. Nix, you've been suggesting some stuff too. Nix, you'd make it so the tile map is the default image, and when people make their texture mods, they have to over your indexes of your original texture. They could add in different layers for it if they have like multiple door models, like a rusty one or one covered in vines. But when these are gone, the program would point to the first layer indexes. Please make it so it's locked when people hold down like shift, like how it is in like Paint or Photoshop. Click dragging a box is so useful. Yeah, I like it. Obviously, I'm doing it all the time, where I'm like dragging out a whole 2D area instead of making individual walls. I also would rather just make a box and then make a smaller box instead of having to make 4 walls to create a box. I'd rather make a bigger box and then hollow out a smaller box. So maybe I won't do that. I don't use stuff like Photoshop, so I have a hard time making it so that my editor is in line with what people expect from other programs. The only thing I have to go by is like Sprite. So maybe we make a line tool and like a box tool or something. Or like you said, maybe Shift does something. What do you call that kind of 3D modeling again? Like subtractive modeling? Yeah, it's like subtractive modeling. Or it's kind of like CSG a little bit, but not really. Did the stream die? I hope not. Arneo, you say it depends on how easy it is to see if your design is valid. It would be really annoying to try and finalize an invalid build if you can't see what's invalid about it. Yeah, or sometimes you might need to make an invalid placement to bring yourself closer to being valid, right? So what if you get invalid? What if you're invalid in such a state that the only way to fix it is to like get to some intermediate state that's less invalid but still not totally valid? Yeah, I'm a little concerned about front loading those checks. That seems like a little scary. That definitely seems a little scary. All right, we're way off what we were supposed to be working on this week, which is our alternative raycast-like input system. I decided we were going to work on invalid tiles because I was like, that'll be easy. We can knock that out in an hour. And like, here we are an hour and a half in, and we're like arguing about how we're going to do it. But that is the way. That is the way. I definitely don't love my door logic here, and I want to rewrite it. So I think this is the invalidation step. But yeah, we need a way. So we have blocks. We need like an invalid mapping onto the blocks. We need a bit field. But we need a really big one, so we can't do that. So I don't have an arbitrarily large bit field structure that I could use. I could use bit array. It seems wasteful to, you know what? We'll put this in the block buffer. We'll put a characteristic in the block buffer. Probably just a Boolean like invalid. Or should it be a dictionary? No, because yesterday we spent some time switching the cutaway blocks from being a dictionary to being a buffer so that we could access them from other systems. Because I would imagine that there would be like a publish system or like a build system or even the edit system that looks and is like, are the blocks valid or not? And the tile system needs to know this. But it's not the only system that needs to know this. Tell you about it? You felt that in your soul? Oh, probably the thing about me spending an hour and a half arguing about the approach. Oni, you feel like that's just life as a game dev? Let me fix this real quick and then work on X, and then the fix takes all day. Yeah. Or like yesterday we were like, we're going to work on one thing, but then to work on that one thing, we spent the whole stream refactoring to even support the idea of doing that one thing. Diginanigans. Can me, c'est moi, Digital Iliad, can I not handle it when I'm about to render? You're already checking if it's invalid there. Can you modify the block buffer at that point to remove it? Yeah, but that's the thing is already the way we did that. Oh, so you're saying we circle back and just remove that block because it's not valid? We could. That would create like a weird, wouldn't that create like kind of a weird read-write access thing? Like if you're graphing out what systems read and what systems write certain data, it'd be weird for this downstream system to like rewrite that stuff. It's doable. There's no real reason, and it's doing it from within the same system group, so it's not actually that problematic. But then we're back to the whole thing of like, if you're not allowed to make any, if you're not allowed to make any invalid thing, yeah, that actually is kind of a good way to do it, huh? You're just not allowed to make an invalid placement. That really simplifies the problem, doesn't it? Then we don't have to worry about analysis or rendering or any of this stuff because you're just not allowed to get the build into an invalid state. I just think that's really hard to do in practice. It's not fundamentally different though, because like you'll have some system that determines validity, right? And it really doesn't matter whether you run that system as part of the tile rendering process or as part of the tool placement stuff. It really doesn't matter that much. I guess you're right. You're right about that. So I guess it would be easier for us to just not allow invalid placements. Because I am concerned about that from the standpoint of extending structures. So like making sure your spaceship isn't like disjointed separate structures. And it would just force you to extend from existing structures when you wanted to build something. And it would block you from like orphaning anything. Oh, am I multi-streaming? Yes. Yeah, we're also on YouTube, Oni. We're multi-streaming between YouTube and Twitch. Hi, YouTube. Don't forget to hit the bell or whatever people say. Strike that bell. Is it still a bell? I don't know. Nix, you should still check for invalid states in game when loading in any models, though. Save files could get corrupted together with ship layouts. That's true. That's true, Nix. I liked your indexing texture idea. My problem is, what if the mod has more textures than the base game palette, whatever you want to call it? How do you index? You could get into some weird states where like you try to index it and it gets compressed or something. Not compressed, but you know, it can't index it because it's not a 1-to-1 ratio. So I'm concerned about that. Oni, as I mentioned earlier, it would be harder to communicate to the player. If someone places something invalid, they immediately know why it's invalid. If you can't place something, it's not obvious why. That's a good point. That's a good point. Y'all are pulling me in different directions, but I'm tempted to implement it this way we're describing, where we allow the invalid placement and then we just report on that validity issue. I think we're going to go with that. I think that's what we're going to end up doing. I'm probably going to end up making an auto tiling layer for invalid tiles, though. Because why not? Why not? It's going to be another edit-only tile map layer. Arneo, you've never in your life touched that bell. You've never understood what it does. Well, the thing is, if you can hear the bell ringing, that means that you still believe in Santa. So if you don't hear anything when you press the bell, you no longer believe in the meaning of Christmas. That's my Polar Express joke. Yeah, let's do this. Let's keep on keeping on with what we expect here. I'm gonna get rid of some of this crufty code. Actually, let's delete some code before we move on here. There was like a function. Oh no, it's a class. Oh, I need to get rid of a certain class. This die. I love deleting code. I want to see all that red in my git commit. All right, so when we derive the door layer, so let's just prototype it this way, then we can talk about the invalid tile layer thing. Which again, we're so off base from what we were supposed to be working on today. So let's try to understand this door validity calculation thing, because this is fundamentally what we need to change here. And this is some rough stuff. And it's also the only thing preventing the legendary quad door from becoming a thing. Besides, you know, tile placement issues. Nix. Okay, so you're describing the issue where a mod has like more textures associated with it than like the base game, quote unquote. Then you'd add in another layer, so you would have, for example, a 10x10 tile map. If someone wants to add in a new tile map, it would need to be 10x10. Doesn't need to be filled up, but all the tiles would have a certain type, like walls, doors, windows, clutter, etc. If they make a new texture map, the tiles would align with your original tile map. So if the texture map mod is missing, you would assign all of those tiles to your original one, the layer 0, 1. I'm just ringing my doorbell. I'm not going to deal with that. Quad door. Yeah. The quad door is a mythical beast that is kind of the bugbear of the chat. If they make a new texture map, the tiles would align with your original. If the texture map on is missing, we would assign all the tiles with the original one, the layer 0, 1. I think I would rather just have an invalid layer. It's a good idea, Nix. Oh, Jotson, raiding with a party of 57 viewers. Quick, hide the code. We don't want anyone to see this. Red alert. Battle stations. How's it going, Jotsoneers? How was the stream? What are you working on today? Thank you for the follow, Fragment Ventures. Welcome to Digital Iliad here, where we're working on an FTL fast and light style game in isometric 2D. Hide the code, yep. Hey Raiders, Seshamara, Semikinez, cute art. Thank you. Yeah, we do very low res pixel art here. That's our style. We're a very low res kind of group here. What am I doing? Let's show you some of the stuff we're working on. How was the stream? What are you working on? You remember this, but you haven't seen it in a while? Well, let me tell you. We're coming up on the end of our tool development. So this is our 3D tile building tool. You made a cabinet that opens and closes. Nice. That's tough because like making doors is one of the greatest challenges of game design, right? And cabinets have doors. Sometimes they have more than one. So we can make this big 3D solid block. We're literally gray boxing this game, so don't mind the, big grayness. But we have an auto tiler. You'll notice the outlines being redrawn based on the cutaway, which we also have. Because we have this 3D rendering problem that FTL doesn't have, where we are faking a 3D environment with 2D tile maps. So we can hollow out some rooms. We can demarcate some stuff here, make some partitions, which the cutaway system will respond to. So this way we can kind of, look inside the 3D space. Appreciate everyone liking our little 2D art look. It's my first big pixel art undertaking here. We're a solo dev, so we're kind of doing everything. So yeah, we've got this complex. We've got like wall cutaway stuff, so you can see behind walls. We've got like compartment cutaway stuff, so that you can see about that. So we're kind of wrapping up this tool, this big complex auto tiling tool that will eventually let us, build our ships, and we can start working on the game mechanics of that. So we're working on a problem with the doors specifically. So you'll notice my source engine invalid texture block, which we just made this morning. Diginanigans, you're tempted to mock up a version of my door that's just a giant mimic mouth with more teeth. Yeah, that's a good joke. Because we can auto-tile doors. So we can make a single door, a double door, and a triple door. Problem is, once we get past the triple door, we can't support that. And so right now it just draws this, what Diginanigans is calling a mimic mouth, which is like this weird, poorly formed door. So I'm trying to set it up so that we swap to invalid block texture stuff when someone makes an invalid build like that. Right now it doesn't totally work. Because now if you try to do the same thing out here, it'll be like, oh, I'm part of a door. And it will like pop in that middle chunk of the door. So we're working on fixing that stuff so that an invalid door gets represented as such in the auto tiler. Yeah, clearly we have been struggling with doors as well. Doors and stairs or inclined platforms. Oh yeah, I'm not going to do any kind of inclined platforms in this game. It's going to be ladders. Ladders or nothing. Ladders and turbo chutes. Turbo lifts, that's what they call it. I know my Star Trek. Monster mouth door. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you've been working on like a kind of like a horror game, right, Jotson? Is that right? It's been looking super cool. I've popped in occasionally. Impressive, Sammykins. You especially like that this is a cube. Resistance is futile. Yeah, we support the Borg for sure out of the gate. A Borg cube is gonna be great. We're just gray boxing it though because you know, I have ideas. I say ideas. I'm working on having other shapes like this, like obviously like angular shapes. I need to make a set of rounded shapes as well, so that we can actually start defining silhouettes. But there's some problems with building the tile atlases for these. I say problems, I don't want to do it. So I'm working on a way where we can describe an object in 3D like this. Like we could maybe pass in these 4 faces, these 4 sprites with like maybe kind of like a normal mapping or something like that. And then we could have a system that splits out the unique individual tiles that make that up and build like a tile atlas out of those. Because yeah, I don't want to do this myself, so we're working on it. So right now all we can support are the cubes, but you know, Borg life. So yeah, right now we're working on that invalid editor, that invalid door thing. So we need to make it so that the door swaps to the invalid blocks when you place a door that doesn't work, that is invalid. That's kind of what we're working on right now. But yeah, thanks for the raid, Johnson. If you got to run, no worries. Appreciate anyone who's chooses to spend their time here today with us. Trek trivia. TNG crew reach a place where thoughts can manifest IRL. What's the name? Oh no. Thoughts can manifest IRL. That's a lower deck episode. No, I'm kidding. There was a TNG version, right? I remember the lower decks episode. Somewhere where their thoughts can manifest. Is it the Q episode where Wesley gets stabbed with a spear? Because I love that. I'm all about that. You're gonna grab some lunch? Yeah, no worries. Catch you later, Jotson. Thank you. Thank you for the raid. Thank you for hanging out, Raiders. Appreciate that. You think it was the galaxy before that jump? It was the Traveler episode. Oh, the first Traveler episode? When his little ship is broken or something like that. Yeah, we love Star Trek here. If it isn't clear from my art, we're definitely going to be using TOS uniform conventions if I can convince myself that I'm not going to get sued for doing so. I think we have to have red shirts. If we have nothing else, I think we have to have red shirts, right? That one? So the place is M33 or the Triangulum Galaxy. You are full of Star Trek knowledge. Yeah. Yeah, we were very pro Star Trek here.
Logic was impeccable, Captain.
Arnio, you never watched Good Trek, but you binged the Picard show and the accompanying Red Letter Media episodes about it for reasons you can't explain. I can't explain why you would do that, especially if you hadn't seen Star Trek. All right, so what we need to do here is we need to change the system that determines what kind of door a block is. So it looks at its neighbors and it's like, I'm this kind of a door. I'm this kind of a door. And we need to add in some more logic about what makes a door invalid. We have a very rough set of bitwise comparisons that we make to make this determination, and it's kind of rough. So our problem right now is that we end up misidentifying situations where we have this long chain of doors that we can't support, and we need to switch to an invalid door. We need to recognize that, which means we can't just do this. This just checks like 2 in each direction. And in fact, it doesn't do so in a way where it's like sensible. So it needs to check in each direction, and it needs to be like, how many doors have we found on each side of us? So let's do that. What we'll do is we'll just check one direction. We only need to check 2 points. And then we'll check the other direction for 2 points. We could do like n number of checks, but we don't need to because we'll know that we're at an invalid door when we hit like a certain number. At least until we add support for larger doors, which we'll see. We'll see if we even ever support a quad door. The legendary quad door. I already have a problem with the triple door because, in my opinion, gotta go. Do I have a schedule? Yeah. Tuesdays through Saturdays around this time. It's usually around 11-ish Pacific to around 2-ish. We'll probably go a little long today because we started pretty late today. But yeah, Tuesday through Saturday. Check it out. Thanks for hanging out, Oni. Have a good rest of your day. Sometimes you know a show will be awful, Arneo, and it doesn't affect your desire to watch it at all. I just don't know why you would want to watch that if you've never seen TNG. Why would you watch it? So yeah, here's our triple door, and it's because of the middle tiles. There's like a Z indexing problem where like, what do you do? Like it's trivial with a single or even a double door has a bit of a problem because there's a bit of overreach. But once you get bigger than a triple door, now you've got this door that's like 4 tiles, which means the door part is 2 tiles, which means how do you handle Z indexing between the tiles? If you make, so you have to come up with weird structures. So like I have this middle piece of the door. So I'm not sure how I would do a quad door, but it would probably have like multiple teeth, or it would be like, there's a corner piece and then there's like a piece that goes up and a piece that goes down or something like that. Or maybe just one big piece that goes up. I don't know. It would probably just be a variation of this where the top tooth reaches all the way down. So it's like bigger. So it's like a side piece and then 2 middle pieces that consist of this big tooth. And you chop the tooth in half. I think that's how I would do a quad door. We have to fix this soon. We have to move this arrow down. This arrow is too high up for the perspective. It's bothering me. But I really don't want to do that right now. So we're not gonna. All right, so we're going to try to make it so that the door can tell when it's in an invalid state. It's going to do a better job of understanding when it's in an invalid state. Maybe tomorrow we'll do the whole adding an invalid tile map layer so we can just auto tile the invalid checkerboard thing. Because I actually think that would be quite good. I'm questioning having that be per block though. Maybe it should be. Maybe it shouldn't. We have to worry about how textures map. Yeah, so here's our first case. So if our positive neighbor and our negative neighbor are both bulks, then we just know we're a single door. So if there's a wall on either side of us, we know we're one door, right? if there is exactly one wall on a side of us and a bulk on the other side of us, what we kind of need to do is we kind of need to just look in a direction. So let's say we look at like a few blocks on our left. We need to count up how many doors are on the next couple blocks on our left. And then we need to do the same thing on the right. And if the number is too big, then it's like there's too many doors. There's too many doors in this row. But it needs to be consecutive. We need to be careful that we don't do a thing where you have like a single door and then a wall and then another single door. We need to understand that there's a break. So maybe we just check in a line until we reach a tile that doesn't have a block or a door, and then we go in the other line. Maybe we do something like that. Let's think about how we would structure that, because yeah, I don't like how this code is written, so we're gonna hopefully not keep most of this around. So right now I prefetch these, but I think we're gonna do it. I think we're gonna do it in a more of a loop. So we'll say something like for x equals 1. I kind of don't want to do a loop because we only need to check 2 on each side right now, but I do kind of want to write this in a way that's like future proofed. So maybe we do a loop. Do we already have an x somewhere? What are you complaining about? X is less than... Actually, what would x be less than? Maybe end? No. Actually, yeah, we can say block buffer dot get coords. We can say I dot x plus plus. So what we can do now is we can say block negative x equals block buffer dot get or default. Actually, we don't need to do a get or default because we know we're bounded. We can just say get. Blockbuffer.aabb.viewAbsolute. Block positive x. Oh, and it needs to be minus vector 3i.x times x. We could do this first. So what if we're a door and we're literally at the edge of the thing? If we're at the X edge, then we can't look in that direction. Actually, if we're at the X edge, we might be invalid. I'm a little concerned about what happens when we get to the edge of the thing. Let's think about that in a second. Right now, I don't care. So what we need to do now here is we need to say... Let's just call these blocks because that's what we call them elsewhere, and we can copy our code if we do that. All right, so now we need to just start going. And now we need to figure out whether we're a single door, a double door, or a triple door. Oh, there's some kind of characteristic that we need to describe here too, though. We are Dumbledore. Yeah. The mightiest of doors. Do I need to go in one direction at a time? I was kind of thinking about doing both directions at the same time, but I might need to do one direction and the other direction. Who is Tobias? Thank you for the follow. With the great question. So the way I do this here, we check and then we push. So the next X is the negative X block. Why do we only check the lower bound one? Oh, I see. So we check one side and then we extend one further. Can we actually, rather than having to rewrite this whole thing, can we figure this out in a simpler way? And so we can say, this is here. Yeah, so this only checks a certain number of tiles next to the door tile we're concerned with. We need to go farther. So the valid states right now are we're a door and both of our neighbors are doors. Or we're a door, one of our neighbors is a wall, the other neighbor is a door. Or we're a door, one of our neighbors is a wall, our other neighbor is a door, and the neighbor after that neighbor is a door. But the problem is, what if the neighbor after that neighbor is also a door? Now we're not valid anymore because now we're too many doors. Too many doors. It's like a too many cooks situation. So yeah, I'm tempted to just, right now I'm heading in both directions and we're going out. So maybe we just count the number of doors. And if we get some kind of count, it's wrong. Maybe we do something really stupid like that. All we know is that we are a door. That's the only thing we know at this point. We're a door. This is really silly. Because we also need to make sure we're only checking contiguously. Yeah, that's the thing I'm concerned about, is the contiguous part. You're going to head out and start playing with the compositor stuff? Yeah, awesome. Good luck, Diginanigans. Yeah, we're down a real door hole here. Because we need contiguous doors. So maybe that's what we do. Maybe we just say count equals 0. And so maybe let's go and let's say if what we want to say is if if block buffer.getCoords I.x is less than block buffer dot get coords I, not I, end dot x. We can say if it's less than the end, then we can look in that direction. We can say I equals, or we can say x equals 1. We can say, actually what we can do is we can say x equals block buffer dot, we should probably cache these somewhere. We have relative position dot x. Are we doing this in relative position, or are we doing this in absolute position? That's the problem. That's the problem. We actually need to check like this. Ugh. Now I have to think about that too. I have to think about the fact that the camera angle actually matters for this. And I have to make sure that because we're making an isometric 2D game, but we support 90-degree camera rotation. So I have to make sure that if I'm doing boundary checking, let's actually not do any boundary checking. We're just going to do getter default. We actually can afford to not do any boundary checking, so we're not going to. What we do need to do, though, is we need to get coords end dot x. We can say x equals 1. We can say x is less than block buffer dot get coords end dot x. But we need to put this we actually need to check the end coords for the axis that we're actually... We need to say end. You know what? We're just going to say, we're going to hard code the number of neighbors we want to check. Because we can. Because we don't have to worry about out of bounds accesses. We'll say get or default. Because if we get a default, we're done. So what we're going to do is we're going to say we can say if positive x block has any, we can actually say if it has a door, then we can say door count plus plus. So if we find a door, we can do that. We can say else if. So if we don't find a door, we can say positive x block dot has block dot forms dot bulk. Do we actually care if it... No, because the door might not be in this. The other thing we have to worry about is a door can have obviously one of two directions it points, right? It can either point along the y-axis or it can point along the x-axis. So we need to identify the axis of the door, essentially. So this check is actually going to be pretty generous because it's not worried about quite as many cases. So all we're going to do here is we're just going to go through. Pikachu, ha. Thank you for the follow. How are you doing? Really appreciate that. Thanks for hanging out, Raiders. Really appreciate it. I know we're not working on the most exciting stuff right now, but hopefully this is a chill place. to hang, to work, to do whatever, or nothing. I like doing nothing as a treat. All right, so if we identify a door along this, we'll count. Else we'll break. And then so what we'll do is we'll go in the other direction. Actually, I want to go in the negative direction first. Let's say for variable x equals -1. X is less than, x is greater than -3. This has to be 3. X minus minus. Can we just do this simultaneously? I'm hesitant to do it simultaneously. I kind of would rather just check in one direction than the other direction. Again, we're making some horrendous code here. But we're just trying to get the behavior. Get the behavior you want, then worry about what you can do to make the code less terrible. This can still just be 1. Okay, so we're going to count. So we're going to go in a line and we're going to count up how many doors we have in a line. Actually, let's say adjacent X doors. And let's say negative X adjacent. The negative X adjacent door count is negative X doors is 0. Variable positive X doors is 0. Back, you miss anything? No, we're writing horrendous code to do this door contiguity check or whatever you want to call it. So what we're going to do, what we can do here is we can say if negative X doors plus positive X doors is greater than 2. So if there's more than 2 total adjacent doors, we know we're in an invalid state. We can say something like this here, where we say problem is invalid is a door form. So I guess I want to do that at the end, maybe. We can just say door tile equals door tile with form equals door.form.invalid. So that's an invalid door. We already know. We don't really need to do anything else. But now what we need to do, we don't actually figure out what kind of door we are yet, do we? Do we do that way down here? Is there a way to do that earlier? Actually, I guess it doesn't matter if we're an invalid door. That's a good way to do it. Otherwise, else door. Actually, here, we're going to say this because we want to set door tile state anyway. Actually, do we need a switch expression based on the number of door adjacent doors we have? Yeah, we do, don't we? So we need to say, we're going to say door tile equals switch. Actually, we put the variable first, right? We say negative x doors plus positive x doors. Maybe we don't care about the difference there, but I wrote it this way, so we're going to do it. Switch. What's the problem with this? I kind of forget how to write switch expressions. So let's say case 0. So we know, so door tile is going to be a, so if we have a door and there's no adjacent doors next to us, we know our axis is Y and we're a single door. So we grab this. We say door tile with this, comma. Nix, this week has been so hectic and sucky. You can't wait for it to be over. Only one more day. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's been a busy one for sure. All right. Well, this code is not going to be better. Sorry, my partner is sick. I'm just being annoying and bothering them, asking them if they need anything. All right, so if there's one adjacent door, then we know we're a double door, right? And then if there is, oh, actually, we don't know that we're. So wait, when we're down here and we say if positive x block dot form and negative x block dot form, oh, if we know they're both bulks, then we've got that. So we actually need to check that. Do we check that down here somewhere? Maybe we do store these here. Negative x adjacent block. Actually, maybe we can do this. Maybe instead of a hard-coded loop like this, we can do like a while loop. Which is risky, I know. We could say while negative x block dot has block dot forms dot door. We can say negative x doors plus plus. Hey, the Truth Royalty. Thank you for the follow. Appreciate that. So we can just go through that instead of having this. We can say negative x doors plus plus. We can then say negative x block equals. Then we do this. We just do this check here. Not check. We grab Can we say this? Can we say negative x block equals block buffer dot getter default minus vector 3i dot x? Can we just say times plus plus? Oh, this is kind of annoying. We could say plus plus negative x doors plus 1. I'm probably not allowed to do that. Oh, no, I am. That's kind of gross, but it would work. No problem. Great to see other stream with similar... Oh, similar skills. Okay. I don't know about that. Appreciate that. How's it going for you? I was told I have skills. You did say similar, so, you know, the bar could be low. Dang good games. Thank you for the follow. Really appreciate everyone. I shout out Jotson for the raid, but I feel like almost everyone here it was Jotson brought here. What engine you run? So we're kind of in a hodgepodge here. We're using Godot, but I kind of didn't want our whole simulation layer to be... I like the scene tree. I love Godot for game jams. It's nice for game jams. Problem is, this is a big project with lots of stuff, lots of simulations, lots of things happening. I got kind of annoyed at the idea of having everything in the scene tree. So I ended up making... I basically decoupled the simulation stuff from the rendering in the UI. Godot still handles our rendering and UI stuff and all that. But now what happens is we have this window into this entity component system that we run. Our window is this game script that handles the back and forth between Godot and C#. So our simulation layer is in C#. In like a homebrew entity component system that's trash. Don't write. If it isn't obvious, I'm coming from Unity. If you wonder, if you're like, wow, someone wrote an entity component system for C#, it's like, yeah, I'm coming from the Unity data oriented tech stack ECS, which I loved. Mine is way worse, but I wanted to work in that kind of same world. I like describing problems that way. Thank you all so much for getting us to our followers goal of 450. Huge shout out to all of the wonderful followers today. Fragment Ventures, Who is Tobias, Pico Tuha, The Truth Royalty, Dang Good Games, Zoe Xanadu. That is an incredible name. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
What in the name of heaven is this? Out of your Vulcan mind, Spock.
You are out of your Vulcan mind, Spock. Managed to trigger two Bones sound clips at the same time. Nyx starting a level 3 hype train by gifting 10 tier 1 subs to the community. Thank you so much, Nyx. That is crazy. Can we get a ship it for Nyx? If you can ship it, ship them if you got them. I don't think I've ever had a hype train of this level before, which is why I think Bones came out and was like, what in the name of heaven is this? Bones doesn't just come out for no reason. You got the gift bomb and the hype train voice clips to play at the same time. Maybe I need a voice cue so that can't happen. That's awesome. Oh, look at all that. Look at our little fleet. Thank you, Nyx. Really appreciate it. Look at that sweet gift leader box you got. You're also gonna get the hype conductor, the hype train conductor, I think. Really appreciate that. All right, so does our stupid while statement work? Is this reasonable? Because the thing is, So we're saying while the negative x block has a door, and then once we're done with that, we need to ask. So once we run out of doors, we basically need to ask, is the next block after the last door a wall? If it's not, then this door is invalid already no matter what. So I think what we're doing is we're doing a long series of checks, and if at any point we hit the invalid state, we can just forget about everything else, right? That's the thing. So Katoa, thank you. You should have given one more to level 4. Do not worry about it. This is not the kind of stream where we make money. This is not the kind of stream where we're worried about this stuff. This is, really appreciate it. This is a bonus. You also helped us reach our sub goal of 15. So, thank you. Arneo, to boldly Godot, where no man has Godon before. That's not what you wrote, but where no man has Godon before. I'm gonna steal that. We're gonna use that because that is hilarious. That is amazing. Thank you all so much. Such hype. All right, so what we can do is now we can say if negative x block dot has block dot forms dot bulk, we can say if it doesn't. Well, here's the thing. I'm forgetting about the fact that I guess if a door has multiple doors in a row, what we can do is we can say if negative x doors is greater than 0. I think that's an important step. Oh, we have to define this initially, don't we? Can I say variable negative x coord? We could say 1. We could just say, we could say this. We don't actually have to count. We could say negative x coord equals 1. Then we could say we could do this, then define this here. We could just say adjacent x coord, unless we need to keep, no, we need to keep track of both of these. Yeah, Godon makes more sense. Next, the sub goal was the idea, actually. Fun fact, giving 10 gift subs is cheaper than giving only 9. Well, thank you. Oh, we got a nice little gift emote. Thank you so much, Nix. Huge ups. Big ups. All right, let's see if we can finish this. Check. I want to be able to generate invalid doors, you know? Is that too much to ask? I know I'm, like, very slow about this. I'm working real slow on this. But thank you so much. The Twitch interface is going crazy over here for me. It's just like you got your follower goal, you got your sub goal, you got a hype train, a new record-setting hype train, a personal record-setting hype train. Thank you so much.
Your logic was impeccable, Captain.
Indeed. So we can say this times Okay, we're going to try to write it like this. So that we increment the coord and we use the coord as like a counter. This seems fine. And then here what we can do is we can say if negative x coord is greater than 1 and negative x block dot has and not negative x coord or negative x block has a bulk. Now this way we can just say actually in this case what we're going to do is this is invalid. Yeah, so this is invalid. We can say door tile equals door tile with... Actually, we were going to try to do a switch statement, weren't we? Maybe we just say step. Steps. Only the 500 bit is left. Please do not worry about the bits. I would love to add some things that happen when people give bits, but I haven't done anything like that yet. So we're going to say form equals door tile dot invalid. Oh, door form dot invalid. So if we take in more than one step, the stream is still going. Yeah, we're running a little long because we got this raid by Jotson. We're just vibing here. I do need to wrap it up relatively soon. I'm just kind of annoyed that I've made basically no progress on this. How I want to check to see if the doors are, because this horrible spaghetti code of like bitwise comparisons is gross, but it mostly works. And the reason it mostly works is it's like it's not trying to do very much. The thing is, so here's the thing. So we evaluate the like X direction of the door. We evaluate the door assuming it's facing Y. So we're evaluating it along its X axis. And the thing is, if it doesn't find any problems, or if it does find problems, that's okay because it might be a door facing the other way, right? So we have to do this in such a way where we like don't prejudge too harshly. So we need to write this out in such a way where we can like figure out the situation with the doors. Still working on putting the invalid tile in place of improperly placed doors? Yes. Yes, that's what we're doing because that's the thing that I want. And I haven't figured out a way that I want to do it. So we'll work on this a little longer. If I don't figure it out, I got a game dev meetup tonight that I can work on this and kind of just think through the approach and at least figure out the way I want the approach to work if this approach ends up being too awkward to pursue. Because right now what we're doing is we're doing like a while statement where we're like sequentially checking the neighbors along one direction and then we're going to flip it and check the other direction. And then we're going to see what we end up with at the end. So what we can do here is we can say You know, maybe we go about this the other way where we try to pick out valid states. No. Yeah, maybe the first half of this is like very generous and we try to identify a valid state. If it's invalid, there's a possibility it's valid just in a way we're not checking. And then maybe when we do the second half of this, we're a lot more harsh about it. So maybe we try to write it differently for each part. So here we can say if negative x steps I think we need to do both passes. Oh yeah, because next X block remembers what it is. So just because the while loop is done, we still have a reference to this block, so we can actually make additional checks on the block. Ooh, I like that, I like that. So we count how many doors we have. So maybe we do call this negative X doors. No, I don't like doors because that's kind of wrong. I like steps better. Maybe we just do chord. Yeah, steps. Hey, Master3307, how's it going? How are you doing? So let's just then while loop in the other direction. So we'll say variable negative y steps is 0, block, negative y block. Come on, autocomplete. Let's see if it can figure out what we're doing here. I'm going to get through the whole function. Nope, there we are. You're doing good? We're good. We've had a very hype stream today. We've had very hype streams all week. It's kind of incredible. I may be getting a little distracted by it, but that's on me. So we're going to say negative y block equals block buffer, get our default. Block buffer dot ABB. Oh, it was ready to help me. There we go. Oh, this isn't what negative y. We're trying to do positive. Oops. Oh, maybe that's what we should do. Maybe we should actually explore perpendicular. Maybe we should check the x and the y and try to figure out what axis the door is on. That would actually be really smart. I wrote this. I thought I didn't write what I intended to write, but now that we're doing it, I think I like that idea. So one of these needs to be problem is we can't just be worried about writing the detecting an invalid door. We still need to describe the door. That's like what most of this function is doing. It's saying like, okay, the axis, this is a y-axis door. It's a triple door, or it's a double door. We kind of need to identify that. But maybe we don't, actually. Maybe we can do that later. We have to do it now if we're going to support anything bigger than a triple door. Yeah, you're doing everything you can, Nix, to stop me from finishing my game. I appreciate it. Oh no. Your friend got a hold of your unsecured file server stuff and has a totally open unsecured file server. Unsecured, right. That is truly scary. Do you see what you've started? You see what evils you've unlocked? All right. I'm still embarrassed by the way this code works, so let's try to replace some of it here. All right, so what is the advantage of doing that? Because I was thinking we were just going to check the negative x and then the positive x, and then we would do the same thing for the y, but I kind of think it would be good to check x or y and try to determine the axis of the door. Do we have a check down here that says if both axes... You know, maybe we make that check later on. Maybe we just positively... Because axes, the way I've set up axes, this is a flag, isn't it? Where is that? Axes. Yeah, this is a flag. Oh, this is a crazy flag. Okay. It's just X, Y, Z, but it's also got all the other combinations. But it's also only positive. Okay. This guy's advertising their unsecured file server on TikTok. This person is going to have like a letter from someone about the fact that he's set up like a pirated media server. Master, by the way, this is nice since your usual dev streamer is currently not so active, so you chill here. Well, thanks. You popped in a little late, so we probably won't be going too much longer today. But yeah, we're here Tuesday through Saturday, trying to create a nice chill co-working environment here. Yeah, there is. There is. It's not good. And your friend is going to be liable for that. I don't think I did it for the lulz is an affirmative defense in the legal system. All right, so what is the advantage of checking it this way? Yeah, I'm actually down with this. We're gonna do it this other way. I'm gonna copy this. Positive X steps. Positive X block. Variable positive Y steps. Block positive Y block. Equals block buffer. Getter default. Block buffer. Why is everything negative? So this needs to be positive. This needs to be positive. Same with this. Okay, so we can do this, and now we can... I feel like you would want to distance yourself from this project as much as possible. XXX, X, X, Y, 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 Y. Okay. I know I could just copy and paste this, but I'm kind of playing with the autocomplete, trying to test to see how good it is. There it is. You get about halfway through the line and it figures out what you're doing. We're gonna have to do some Z checking too. All right, get rid of this. So let's see if we can identify some valid states here. We're going to say, here we're going to basically say door tile equals, well, here let's say if negative x steps plus positive x steps actually, we can do this in two different increments. We can say door tile. We can say door tile equals door tile with. Here we can do it like this. We can say. Well, now we can do that switch expression, I guess. Switch. We're going to say positive x steps plus negative x switch. Here we'll say 0 we can say door dot, we can say door tile with form equals door dot form dot single. Here we can say 1. This would be a double. Here we can say 2. This will be a triple. And then beyond that, any other value is going to be invalid. So that's cool. Why doesn't this work? Oh, we need to... like that. Yeah, okay. So yeah, let's take this like little bit by bit. I could even have a variable here just called form instead of changing it directly. So right now we support single, double, triple. And then what we need to do is we need to see if we can determine the axis. So we need to say, we can say if negative x block dot has block dot forms dot bulk and positive x block has a bulk. So if there's a wall on both sides, then what we can do is we can say door tile equals door tile with axes equals axes dot y. So we can apply a Y if it's there, and then we can do the same thing here for X. And then what we can do is we can look at the combination of those things, and depending, it will be bad. All right, good luck. Good luck to both of you there. Nix, your hype train conductor badge looks awesome. So we'll say Y. Hydrate. Thanks for the hydrate. Almost out of water. It's a good call. You have no idea what that means? Oh, it's maybe because you're on the app, but you got a sweet little train badge for conducting that hype train today. Well, these aren't called doors, they're called steps. All right. And then this would be X. So maybe we add a function here. We say like public static pool has axes. We need an axes check. Let's just do a simpler one for now. Let's just manually do it. So what we can do here is we can say, so we're already figuring out whether the door is valid or not to an extent. So below here, so the old code is below here. Let's comment this out for now, because we're not using this. So this is an invalid check that we can still use. So we say if there isn't a floor below us, we can move this, actually, this declaration down there. Actually, that's, is there not a floor above us? Thank good games, FTL-like. Hell yeah. You're excited to keep returning to the stream to see it come together? Yeah, thanks. We've been cruising on it. We're in episode 227 of Digital Iliad here. I'm excited to see it come together too. Thanks, dang good games. Yeah, I think we're gonna find someone to. I want to give this a quick run to see if this worked, and then we'll see. Let's see if we can ship it here. Oh, this is doing some checks here. This check is not going to work the way this is written. Is there a simple way to rewrite this? Because the problem is that these blocks are not going to be doors. So we almost need to say... so if it's a double door, we need to say... We need to know which door tile is greater than the other one. So we can actually say... So if negative y block has a door, then we're the lower... So what we could say, we could ask if is negative y steps greater than positive y steps. Let's just comment that out here. Here we can say for a triple door, we can make this, we can have the same question. And then here we can say, so if negative y steps is greater than positive y steps, oh, we can structure this whole thing kind of differently. And what we can say is actually, let's do the other one. Let's say is negative y steps the same as positive y steps? Well, in that case, then we're just the middle, right? Then we're the middle door. Otherwise, we need to ask this question. If it is, we're the lower. Otherwise, we're the upper. Let's get rid of this. Okay. This was really nebulous for a while, but axes, double, triple. We're not invalid. We can sort out the axes. Switch door tile.axes. Okay, we determined that already. Oh, there's a possibility we have no axes. Oh, these are 0, or these are 1 by default. So this would be 2. This would be 3. This would be 4. 1, 1. 3. 4. Okay. So there's one last case here, which I should add to this probably. So we can say this, or this, or this, and we can add one more here. We can say or door tile.axes equals 0. Does that work? Or is 0? Yeah, 0 is invalid. We actually need to get that out of here. Okay, now we just need to do the same thing here. This rooms.has anything might be weird. That might not work, but this might. This looks like it might work. Let's give it a try. Crash. Immediately crash. Let's place these doors here. One door, two door, oops, 3 door, 4 door, 5 door, too many doors. Okay, not the intended function. This works though. So placing doors like randomly is pretty good. What about the other side? Oh, the other side almost works. It's not good that the X side and the Y side behave differently. That's not a good sign. All right, so why would this be behaving differently? Probably because I wrote these branches differently. So if it's 2, that just means it's 1, 1, which means it didn't find anything. 3, double, 4, triple. Okay. It's possible we're just simply rendering this wrong. All right, I think we're gonna have to finish sorting this out tomorrow. There's some weird stuff here, but we're getting there. We're almost there. Look at the mighty invalid blocks. I do want to auto tile this because I don't like seeing all the outlines. We're gonna auto tile this. Yeah, this has been an awesome stream. I think we're gonna find someone to raid here, so we can carry it forward a little bit. Yeah, this is a little awkward. 2, 3 works kind of weirdly. Yeah, so the X-facing doors are behaving wrong. The Y-facing doors are also behaving wrong, but in a different way. But I'm glad we at least got this part fixed. The X seemed to be more correct. There might be something happening later on with the drawing process where we are making some presumptions. Like when we create the door cell here, the door tile cell, we might be having a problem. All right, so it's otter or fern. Fern's an hour and a half in. Otter's 5 hours in. All right, let's go read fern. But yeah, this has been awesome. Appreciate everyone here today. Be back tomorrow. Keep working on this. I usually like, not every problem is a one and done in one stream, right? And that's unfortunate. I always like to have like a narrative arc where we accomplish our goals right at the end, just in time, and we like got so close. But there's some kind of hidden little issue there. I'll probably figure it out tonight. But yeah, this has been really great. Thanks again, Jotson, for the raid. / shout out, Jotson. Yeah, thank you all so much. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place, probably a little earlier. I'll start a little earlier. Yeah, no worries. See you, Nix. Thank you all so much for hanging out here today. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. And I'll see you next time. Bye.
Maximum warp.